Hello everybody and welcome. I am Teresa with Keep in Touch Crafts and I'm coming to you from Oak Grove, Minnesota. Oh, that's a mouthful. I am a few minutes late. I'm so sorry. Technical issues again. They've been plaguing me lately and it's been one thing after another. I hope this goes well. I'm going to do the best I can. I am going to be talking about some watercoloring techniques and watercolor looks that you can do for your cards. And I have been playing with watercoloring techniques now for a couple of weeks. I knew that July is World Watercolor Month, and that's a good reason for me to kind of get reacquainted with some of my watercolor techniques that I've been working on, and just give myself some time to try a bunch of new techniques. It's one of my favorite things to do, is just kind of playing with products and seeing what I can come up with. And hopefully some of what I am showing you tonight will spur you on and give you some ideas of things that you can do as well. Thank you for joining me, whether you're on YouTube or if you are on Facebook. Thank you for joining, and thank you for watching the replay as well, which is what most of my viewers do. So feel free to leave a comment, a question, anything that to let us know you're here. Subscribe if you're on YouTube. If you could share, all of that really helps me, and I greatly appreciate that. Hopefully you will appreciate what you're getting to put your time into here tonight. There's more than I can do for just one program. I'm sitting here thinking I needed to do it all today. My original intention was to do one part of it last week and then the rest of it this week, but as you probably know if you were watching or have been to my website, that it just decided to crash on me a few minutes in last week, and so I wasn't able to complete it. It was just a nightmare. So I also don't want to go through this so fast that it's not helpful, and that it's just a flurry of ideas and not helpful for you. So we'll see how far we get tonight, but I'm thinking I might have to do two different nights on this, and we still have one more week, one more Thursday in the month of July that I would be able to still be in World Watercolor Month. so that helps. That's my intent, is to get it in while it's still going. It is celebration time, and if you're not familiar with that, with Stampin' Up, that means if you order product, every $50 you order, that is going to give you some free products to choose out of a catalog. So please feel free to go to my, let's see if I can find it here, my store on Stampin' Up. And if you need any products, I'm going to be talking about a lot of different things today. And if any of them are something you need, if you then feel free to go to my store. I have a blog that I will be updating and giving more information about as well. And that is just keepintouchcrafts.com. See if I have that anywhere. No, that's not it. Oh, goodness. Let's just not. Anyways, so feel free to leave me a comment. And thank you for joining me. Let's get to some watercoloring techniques. I also am doing a new setup tonight with a new stand and a whole bunch of new stuff. So we'll see how it goes. I am hoping it's better. I have a new stand with better lighting, and so I'm hoping that that's going to improve the picture and everything. So, you know, feel free to drop me a line if you have any suggestions or whatever. I am going to try to do this and make it not too long, but yet thorough. So I got to find that happy medium. All right, guys. Well, let's go down here to my work surface area. Yowza, that was messy. For tonight, I have a lot of messy things that I'm going to be doing. And so I am going to adjust first of all. Sorry about this. I'm still getting used to this new setup. All right. Anyways, so feel free to give some of these things a try. I'm going to be using a lot of different products, so I'll try to not be confusing with it. Let me grab my annual catalog here, and I'm just going to show you where to find some of the tools that we are going to be using. If you need a catalog, let me know, If you don't have a demonstrator and you're wondering how to get some of these things, just let me know. I can always send you a catalog if you'd like. So just leave me a message or email me. And it's keepintouchcrafts@gmail.com. Yeah. Anyways, okay. Here's our annual catalog, page 128. Some of the things I'm using on this page, whether it's this week or next week, embossing powders and our embossing heat tool is something I'll be working with. And then on the next page here, I am going to be using the blender pen. I'm going to be using Stays On ink. We have it in black and brown. If you're doing watercolor techniques, do not use the Memento that we usually use, because that just will run. That is better for like alcohol inks and just your regular blending brushes. No, or blends markers. Sorry about that. Spritzers work really nice too, and I'll kind of show you some of that. Versamark ink is very good for when we're embossing. And this is another tool. These are water painters, and they are like these kind of paint brushes, which I'll show you here. But they have a little reservoir on them. And let's see. Oh, that's a spritzer. Yeah, I got to find where I put them. They're right. My tools. I need all my tools. They have different widths brushes on them. Wow, I'm missing my biggest one. So anyways, you can see that they're like a paintbrush, but they have a area that you can open up and you can put water in there. You can also put an alcohol solution if you want to do the alcohol ink techniques that we've done in the past. But what's one thing to know about these is it screws in backwards. So rather than the whole righty-tighty thing, it's the opposite of that for these. And then you just can put water in there, and then you're not needing to necessarily dip into the water all the time. It's just contained right here. You can also put, like water with some powder in it that's glittery, like a glimmer mica powder can go in there. And in fact, I have used... we don't have this, so here's some mica powder that is actually an eye makeup, and this works so good to open this up, and you can take some of this really fine powder that's in there and put it in to this, or you can put it in our spritzers with the alcohol or the water, and it just makes a real shimmery liquid that you're using. So I was gonna pass that on to you. And so that's what these look like, and they have the 3 different ends on them. This is the finest tip on it, and then oh my goodness, and then there's one that's more, is that kind of what this one is? Oh, not the right one. Okay, mine's super dirty because I've used it a lot and didn't get it all cleaned off apparently, but this is more like that brush tip on it. And then there's the widest one, which must have fallen out of my tray. Ay. Oh, I found my Stays On ink. Stays On, very important for today. Again, don't use the Memento because that will just smear. And another nice thing to have are blender pens. So a blender pen is also pictured here in the catalog. This has 2 ends on it, and they have a fluid in there, and they can help with your blending. And this is another tool that will be very helpful, along with some of our watercolor pencils. So pardon my noise, I'm just pulling out some of my watercolor pencils here. We have 2 different sets that you can order from, and they have different colors in them. So this is just an example of one of the sets, and feel free to look around in our catalog at the different sets if you'd like, if you need watercolor pencils. But that works well with this blender pen and the aqua painters. And we also carry we have watercolor paper, and it's I lost everything, I swear. It's called Fluid Watercolor Paper. Let's see if I can, what are the chances I'll be able to find it quick for you? Because I have the packaging, but in my haste here at getting ready for this, I don't know where anything went. It got kind of crazy. I was having trouble again. Watercolor paper is probably in, oh yeah, here's where it is. Page 140, it shows under, these are our different cardstocks, and right here it mentions Fluid 100 5x7 watercolor paper, and you get 10 sheets, and it's $9, and you can just cut those up and use smaller pieces. So let's kind of get started here a little bit. So what I like to do when I am going to be doing watercolor stuff, you know how messy it is, right? We need to kind of prepare some things, because if it can make a mess, I will make a mess. If it's possible, I will do it. And so I try to mitigate that as much as I can. So some of the things I've done here is just taken some chipboard and putting some, oh, what is this? The press and seal over it. It just kind of makes it waterproof. And I like to tape down, like this is the watercolor paper. I don't know if you can see the texture. I know I'm really close, but just trying to show you kind of the texture of it. I like to tape it down and leave about 1/4 of an inch border all the way around, and that kind of helps to frame out your paper and just kind of keeps a nice neat edge on it. And so I like, this one is foil, that's waterproof as well, so it won't absorb. So you can do, you know, any number of ways just to make your surface kind of protected. Any other type of, oh, you could put any kind of a pad down, and you can use that too. So this is just sort of one way you can protect your area. And I'm going to set these, whoops, I'm going to set my tools kind of aside here. And so one thing I'm going to do is show you some of the techniques around watercoloring and how it pertains to what we're doing. I took a lot of time and just tried all kinds of things, and that is how we come up with really fun looks and perfect what we're doing and just play. So give yourself some of your scraps and some different tools and just see what you can come up with. I'm going to show you a few things, but there's a bazillion more you can do. But this will just hopefully get you started. So I have watercolor paper, and I kind of wrote, what I would suggest is just getting some scraps of it. And I put notes on here just to remind myself, how did I get this look? Like, this is obviously very bright and bold, and watercolor tends to be typically more of a wash on there and kind of muted. But I wanted you to be able to see it. I didn't want a real muted color because that would be hard for you to see. So you can see, based on this, you can make it bright and bold, but you can also do the more muted tones as well. So this, one thing I suggest also for a tool is I use a lot of our acrylic blocks as kind of a palette. And so I just dip these right into the ink pads, and then you can kind of spritz on here and press it down onto your paper. And that is what I had done on this one. But I did do a wash of water first on my watercolor paper. Then I inked up the block and put it on here, and then that's what happened. And that's what all of these are, just samples of what happened when I did this or that. And they're a good reference to keep for later on too. So if you come back to it sometime, you can say, oh yeah, that's what I kind of want this or that to happen. And this is another watercolor paper sample. So I took a re-inker bottle. We get our little ink bottles, and I just dripped it on there, and then I used a water brush, our aqua painter, to spread it out a little bit. But with this one, wow, is that intense? Wouldn't that be cool for the right application? I just had taken the watercolor paper, I did some water, just a basic wash on there, and then I dripped it on, which we can try some of these too. But there's more things than we can possibly do, so I'm going to go through a lot of this first. And I just, like, again, I'm taking notes. Here I put a wet brush on, and then I put a dry block on there with the ink. And I just tried all these different techniques. This one was just a dry, I had just put the ink in the on the here and pressed it down, and that's how it looked. And doing the spritzing the block and pressing it down on my watercolor paper, that's how it looked. And this has more of a definite border when you're using one of these blocks. I'll show you a way to kind of do a wash that's more of a kind of a, I don't know, less of a defined border. So now I also use watercolor paper, and I used our spritzers, and I just spritzed it on. Different looks that you can try with your spritzers, and sometimes you're going after different looks. I did 2 different blocks here, and then I also put it through our embossing folder just for looks. Now some of these I also just inked up the inside of the embossing folder, and I wanted to see what that would be like. Take your embossing folder, open it up, put different ink colors all over on there, run it through, and maybe that's going to be one of your new favorites. This is from our Splatters and Stripes embossing folder set. This is the splatter one, and kind of how that looked. I thought that was kind of cool. And I just played with all kinds of things and just wanted to see, like, I would ink up one half or the other. Here, I'll find it, guys. So what I'm kind of trying to explain is when you have the embossing folder, I just would ink up the actual inside here. I would do different colors all over, and then maybe do a little spritz, put the paper in, and run it through the embossing folder, or my die cut machine, stamp and cut and emboss machine. There we go. And then other times I would try inking this other side just to see the difference, because there really is a difference on which side you ink. And play around and try and just get all kinds of cool looking backgrounds for your projects. I also, this is my funnest discovery. So I went and we have a new glimmer paper, and it is in the newest catalog. I'll show you. This is our new mini catalog, and it's our what is it? July to December catalog. And if you look in the back, it has a bunch of our different papers, and right here it says Glimmer Specialty Paper, page 31. And it doesn't really show you the paper that much, but I just want to show you where to find it. So it is with part of the suite of the Lights Aglow, and it is shown right here. And I am going to use this center one. There are other things I'd use these for as well, but the center one is more of the, oh, what does it say? The glimmer is Evening Evergreen, Very Vanilla, and Gold. So I'm using the Very Vanilla one, and I'm doing some watercolor techniques on there that I just was so happy with the outcome of that. It was really fun. So I just sort of, part of my playing around is what I came up with some of these backgrounds. And I don't know if you can see the shimmer on there as much, but these are so pretty in person. And this is more of a sloppy one. I have a bunch of others that I've done too, but then I did end up stamping on to the actual paper. You can stamp on it if you use StazOn and use your aqua painter on there. You can, I think with this one I had done the background first, and I'll show you how I do that, and then I used the StazOn and stamped it, and then I also took my brushes then and did the coloring technique with the block of ink. And again, I'm going to show you that in a moment. I just kind of wanted you to see some of the outcomes here. I also tried embossing with heat embossing, which is using Versamark ink stamped over top of the background that I did ahead of time. And then I embossed this one in copper, I think it is. And it I didn't do any other coloring on it. I just left that background wash on it. And really cool outcome with that, I thought. And so we'll do some of that together. I did just cut up a few extra pieces of this that we can play with. And I am going to make a background for a card for tonight. I'm going to do kind of a sunset look. So we're going to keep that in mind. We'll make a card with that. And then there's a lot more we can do that I will demonstrate, and I'll do more next week as well. So let's decide where to begin here. All my stuff is everywhere. All right, so I do want to kind of show you some of those applications that I had talked about. We can use the watercolor paper. We can use this paper, this glimmer paper I was telling you about. You can also use our thick cardstock, and you can use our, shimmer cardstock. And those work well too. You just do not want to saturate it with a lot of water because it'll kind of buckle and curl, and that usually doesn't work as well. So let's see what I got here. Okay, so I am going to be using, well, first I'm going to do the techniques and then we'll focus on the card. All right, let's pull in and just sort of kind of do some general kind of playing around. I'm going to bring in, this is actual watercolor paper, our Fluid 100, and I'm just going to show you a couple of ideas on here. First of all, we do have a stamp set that has shapes that look like watercolor, and it is, I think I'm bumping this a lot, sorry guys if it's jiggling, watercolor shapes. This makes a background or a shape that you can watercolor, and it already has some of the gradient in it, and oh boy, that's not good with my ring light, is it? And it comes with a big set, so I'll kind of show you that can make it real easy. You can kind of stamp with different colors and overlap and make a background, but I do want you to kind of just see what you can do to kind of make it look more of a watercolor look to it. I'm just going to grab any old color. This is polished pink, and I am going to just ink that up like usual. And it is not going to be a smooth, evenly stamped image. It's going to have lighter and darker areas, and you can kind of let that, it's not going to look that great yet. Okay? It doesn't look that great. But what you're going to do then is pull in, let me show you what a blender pen does. Remember I was showing you these are blender pens, and these do blend out. Oh, is mine dried up now? It takes a little time, but it is going to blend that color out and make it not be so splotchy and so textured looking. You can kind of see already where I'm at on here and where I've been. You can tell this is kind of blended in a little bit better, so it really kind of pushes that the color into the paper a little better, and it kind of takes away some of this texture from the actual paper. I just kind of want you to be able to see how it's not the best image, right? So that's what this is for. The blender pen just kind of goes and really makes that look like it was a watercolor shape that you painted, and it's really a great outcome when you do the whole thing. If you don't have that, you can try, I'm going to grab one of our aqua painters here. You can also just use one of these, and just I'm squeezing this part, and the water is going to come down a little bit into the brush. You just have to be careful. You don't want it to like come flying out so that it's a big old pool. But this is going to do a similar, it's going to have similar results to what the blender pen did. It just depends what you like better. You know, everybody has a preference. And so I kind of like that you can get a little bit further on this one. So maybe the blender pen would be better for a smaller area. And this one works well for a larger area. And you just kind of get that wet and you move it around a little bit, however you want. And it is really looking like a truly watercolored shape. I could never do a circle that good. Never. But this, like I was saying before, can make a really cool background using a bunch of shapes, and you can just move that color around on there. The watercolor paper is nice when you want to use a lot more wetness to it, because it you know, it's meant for that. It's meant for a lot of water. You can hold a lot more water than any of our other papers that I'm going to be working with tonight. It does absorb in, and you could add color over that if you want. You could put another color in here. You could also use any of those other shapes, like I said before, and make a background. All right, so that's enough with just showing you the stamp set, how that works. Another thing you can do then, think of this as a different project, right? I'm going to use this part. What I'm going to do is get the water put down on the paper first. You can see it's kind of coming out there. Hopefully you can see. I don't know if you can actually. See how it's wet? This is going to be wet on wet, so if you have the water on there first, you can try it different ways. Try putting your ink on there when it's not wet first and see what that does, and then try it with the wet on there. I should have had my ink ready by now. So I'm going to grab some of these acrylic blocks of ours that we stamp with, and I want to get some colors for my project. I did also want to show, if you're a Paper Pumpkin subscriber, all of our Paper Pumpkin kits come with these little ink spots. This is a great way to use those, because it's kind of nice to have a little bit smaller of a little bit smaller ink pad there, easier to maneuver sometimes. Typically I like the large ones best, but for this type of thing it does work kind of nice to have the little ink spots like this. So it's another use for our Paper Pumpkin supplies, and they're great for traveling too. So I'm going to use a similar palette to what I used with, oh, well, let's see, the pink is going to be the same at least. So this isn't really showing up much, but you can see it on there a little better. So I'm just putting ink onto the block so it's ready for me, and you can put your water right on that block and activate it a little bit. I'm going to kind of get a little bit of the water refreshed on here, and I'm just going to show you how you can do something that is different colors on there. You're not going to want to mix colors too much if they're going to fight each other and become a lovely shade of brown, unless that's what you're wanting. But so this is, I am not an artist, you know, I'm not all going to be all fancy. I just like to play with techniques and just kind of see what works. You can see already that you can lift up your paper and it'll just kind of start to spread down, and even that's cool. I mean, you could just leave it like that and that would be fun, and just kind of a cool technique, cool look to it. We're going to add a little blue. This is just for like a background, and we know that these colors will look okay together. You can always squeeze a little more water out if you want that to run more. The more water, the lighter the color. All right, and then this last one is our darkest color, so I won't use as much. That is Night of Navy. So Night of Navy, Bermuda Bay, and Melon Mambo is what I have here. Melon Mambo, whatever. And you can let it run together. You just play and just see what happens. Now, if it turns out a certain way and you're like, oh, I want it to stay just like that, what you can do to set it, if it's not dry yet, is use your heat tool, and I'm gonna just turn it on right now. It's gonna be noisy, sorry about that, but I do want you to see that this heat tool does dry it a little faster. Kind of can spread it around a little too. You can dab off some of this, let it kind of run off too. So that's how you get a mess. So if you're in a hurry, use your heat tool. And your heat tool then can dry it. It's not completely dry, but it's pretty close. And so then once it's dry enough, you can do whatever else you would like for your technique. If you want this as a background, you could stamp an image. A lot of times stamping a dark color over this, like a Night of Navy or the black, would work really nice, as long as you could stamp any ink over this if it's dry. And so that is kind of a cool way to get some pretty colors. You can run it together more if you'd rather. You can even come back later after you've dried it and redo it again and start over and, you know, add more color or change it up if it's not quite how you want it. So that is a little bit of the watercolor look. All right, now I'm going to show you we can do a similar thing on to this glimmer paper here. I am going to I like having the look of a rectangle with different colors on it, like 3 different colors or 2 different colors that run together, kind of like I did here. And on this paper, then it's such a cool background for whatever focal point you want to stamp on it, or you can cut it out, like stamp and cut out something. Anyway, so let's try again. Maybe this time I'll go with the darker at the top, and you could put a lot of water on first, but this is just what happens when you're using this glimmer paper. It's everything that you're going to make is going to have its own way of reacting to the different things that you're putting on it. This paper, it doesn't really absorb it, it just has to dry. So I like to have it darker at the top, and then you could pick it up and let it run down if you want, and help it along if you would like. You know, there's just no right or wrong, you're just playing. So this is when I have my audiobook going, or I'm binging something. And now that color already kind of mixed together. Oh, I love the color though. It's pretty, isn't it? Reminds me of like that beachy kind of a color. And you can just kind of let it do its own thing if you want. It kind of stops where you stop painting it. So you can kind of create a line that way. You can grab a paper towel and dab it. If you would like a real stark line here and you're like, oh, I don't want it to move, you could just use your paper towel and kind of dab some of that off. That will really lighten it. And so I am going to go to the pink next. And I'm just not using a lot of water. That's why the color is pretty bright. And you can always thin that out by just squeezing on more water. And then when you kind of run that edge together, then those colors will bleed more, and you can decide if you want them just kind of moving all around, if you want them running together or not. It's just playing and deciding what you like, what you're going for, what kind of a look you're going for. And so what I love about this paper is it's got that built-in glimmer to it. I'm going to get a paper towel, and I'm going to, or actually, yeah, I better. Oh, I should have done that ahead of time. Oh. Okay, so you can dab some of this off. If you would want to, you could come back in with more paint. Let's say I wanted more pink and less of a different color. A lot of it comes up, so then it's more muted looking. And if that's what you're looking for, you can do that. But again, you can come back and say, oh, I needed a lot more of this, and pick up more and move it around, and you can keep at it until it gets to the effect that you want. And then you can let it dry, you can keep going just to get to a point. And a lot of times what I noticed is when I'm doing this, when I'm working on it, I'm thinking, this is just, what's the point? It's ugly, I don't know what I'm going to do with that. And then you come back later and look after it's dried, and you're like, that is cool, and you find out a fun application for it. And so it's just a matter of playing around. A little more water to get that to run in. Okay. Oh, I'm liking it. Okay. I'm going to just leave this one like, well, I don't know if I like it in the middle like that. I liked it, but then when I looked on the camera, I thought I didn't like it there. We're just playing. Don't want this to run too much to take away the pink. Kind of makes it purpley, which is fine. This would be nice for like a baby card background. Okay, I'm going to set this one aside. Now this, obviously, I use the whole entire piece. If you want to, you can do something similar. I'm going to just get some new colors just so you can try some and watch something else and just get more ideas. And these, if you just have a wipe or even water, whatever, they just clean right off. Really, really easy cleanup there. And so now we'll choose another color palette. I'll set these aside. All right, let's pull in, we could do some of our, how about some of our bright colors that we just recently got. Let's see, I don't know. These are pretty color palette together. You just have to make sure things don't mix up in ways that you don't want so that it makes a brown mess. I would say I'm going to use this one this is probably the darker color, so I just need a small amount. This one is, these are our new, 3 of our new in colors. So this is the Orchid Oasis, and I'm going to do a little bit with the Tahitian Tide. I won't need too much. Also, just so you know, you can mix colors in the lid. I've seen people do that a lot, where they will kind of squeeze it really hard and then get the lid to, or the ink to transfer a little bit onto here. Or they can kind of ink up your aqua painter and put the color there. I haven't really done that much myself. I do really like the blocks. It's pretty easy cleanup that way, I figure, and it's just the way I kind of gravitate towards, but you do it how you prefer. This is the sorbet, what is it, sweet sorbet? No, actually, this is polished pink. I didn't mean to grab that one, did I? I don't want that one. Whoops, I got the wrong one. Okay, try that again. I wanted some of this parakeet party. Real bright, greenish, yellowish green. All right, now I want to make sure there's not too much color from before on this. I could get a different one too, because I am almost out of water. Oh, I did want to show you also that, okay, did I, oh, I didn't, okay. You can use color, make your color move too if you have our spritzers, and just put you can color the water in there. That is another technique I've done. So that was something I wanted to remind you about. And I think that's, oh, I was maybe going to get a different painter. Oh, good. I finally, okay, this was the wide one that I've been trying to find. I had, this is the widest brush, and it's super nice for doing washes like this. So I am going to just kind of make it a rectangle that doesn't go all the way to the edge. So you'll see what I mean by that. I'm squeezing this down. I'm just going to kind of go about a 1/2 inch or 1/4 inch from the edges, and just kind of, that'll help it know where I'm going to be making my little wash. And this one I'm going to do wet on wet. So I'm going to put a drip or 2 of water on each of those colors, And I want to start with the, let's go with the darkest on top. Sometimes I forget what I'm doing and I almost went to the edge. But this is just going to be kind of one of those watercolory backgrounds. And it's just sloppy, but yet it comes together in time once you kind of get it going. You think that it's a mess, and then you go back and look later and you just kind of like it. And let's keep it going here. Just kind of play with it a little. I like to kind of pat it around. If I want some areas darker, I can do it that way, but I just kind of want it to kind of go together a little, but not, I still want the colors to be separate. And pat is about all I'm doing here. Now, if you would like it really, really light, you could easily just dab some of this off with your paper towel. If you want it kind of as is, then you could just let it dry. You know, whatever you're aiming for. I kind of like the colors the way they are there. It's kind of pretty. And just tilting it a little bit sort of adds to it. What I'll do is, so that you can see what I'm talking about, I'm gonna just dab off some of this color on half of it. You can see a huge difference. So depending on what you're wanting, if you want that super muted background, you would dab it off. If you want it, the colors to pop a little more, then you would you know, not dab it off. So I just wanted you to see the difference there, so that I would not leave it half and half like this for my project, but I did want to just make it so you can kind of see the difference between leaving it kind of full strength or just with quite a bit of the color, and what it looks like when you are dabbing it off and have it very muted. And what's nice with this paper is that the color, the glimmer part just comes right through. So it's a very glimmery background that you're making. Okay, there, I got the color back in there again. That's just, I kind of like the color on it, so I'm going to let this dry. And that is going to be perfect for a layer of your actual on your card. You can stamp on it, and you could die cut something out of it. You could die cut words. You know, I think we have a thanks die right now. You'd be able to cut out the words, mat that, and even leave this still on your card. So this could be a layer, and you could die cut the words out and pop them up, kind of that spotlight technique, or even just popping that up a little bit would be really cool. So just some things to try. I am going to make one more on the glimmer paper. I want to make kind of a sunset look, and then we're going to make a card with that. I'm going to be using a new set that I just got the other day, and it wasn't my intent, but I just love it. And so I wanted to use it, and I came up with an idea. So I'm going to be using it both weeks. This week I'm just going to do kind of a silhouette look with, I kind of want the sky to be in the background of it, which you'll see in a second what I'm talking about here. So here is my glimmer paper. It's a bigger piece, but it's going to be the on the card, and it's going to be a vertical portrait orientation. Scooting everything all around, making a mess. All right, so that's taped down with that little 1/4 of an inch border, and I want it to look like a sunset. One thing I've done is I went on Google and I did a search for sunsets, And there are so many different colors you can use for a color palette on that. I think I'm going to go with more of the orangey, yellowy types of colors, such as, I was going to use that, and, oh, let's see, is this Calypso? Yep, Calypso Coral, and then, geez, I thought I got it out. Sorry guys, I'm just looking. Alright, where are you? Oh yeah, here it is. I love this even. I don't know how realistic that is for a sunset color. Pumpkin pie would be good also. But I think I might go with the, I'm looking for Mary Merlot. Or Cherry Cobbler, I guess. Okay, let's do this one. Cherry Cobbler Calypso Coral Crush Curry. And we're going to do a sunset look. And one picture that I saw that I really liked is they had a real light strip in the center, and then it gradually got darker to the top and the bottom. So we're going to start in the center, and I just want to do that I'm going to put some water down, but I can get some of the color here. This is one of the colors. And this one, I use the smallest one here, which is our A block. I just use that for my darkest color typically, because I don't need as much. And then we have the Calypso Coral, which will be this one. Can you see why I have inky fingers all the time? Because I'm constantly doing stuff like this and making a mess. Right, Rachel? Okay. So let's begin with the center portion. I'm going to make sure that there's, ooh, I have green on there yet. No worries, we can get it off of there. Gone. Easy peasy. So where is my cup of water? I want to rinse it out. So let's rinse this out in my water that I probably left in the kitchen. Who knows? Okay. So I'm cleaning this, making sure there's no green in it, because that's not in my color palette. I hope I got it off of there. And I'm just picking up the yellow that's going to go in the center. And it's going to look a little sloppy, but that's okay, because we're going to get it to run. And we want a little bit of movement here. With a little more water helps I just don't want it to be a solid strip, because I could just, you know, I want it to look like watercolor. And next I'm going to grab a little bit of this one, and I'll squeeze a little bit of water on there too to kind of get it started. And we're going to put that here, and we're going to put it here. And it looks super dark, but we're going to get some water on there and let it run around, or run around. Let it all kind of bleed together. Okay, and we want the top and the bottom to be the darkest. Alrighty. I'm going to be mixing it a little more as we go here. So now, is this the right color? It doesn't look very dark. Yes. Ooh, pretty, huh? Love these colors. They're kind of a fall palette too. I need more. I think I'm going to need more paint though. I want the top and the bottom to be darker. So I need a little more ink. What happens when you do this? We can try. Okay. It's very forgiving, can you tell? You can just kind of do anything, and you can always like change it and, you know, get it different if you don't like what happens with it. So again, oh, I'm off camera. Sorry, guys. With this, I've been inking up, and you couldn't even see it. darker here. I feel like I even want a darker color. Maybe I'll get my Blackberry Bliss out. Get the big guns going. Because I want it to be darker, like nighttime where it makes this kind of a silhouette, you know. That's more what I'm aiming for. And like I said, I did go on, I went on Google and kind of did a search for the different different sunset looks, and there's pretty much about anything under the sun that you can do. Some are yellows, some are more blues, some were, you know, the purples and pinks and just about anything. So just kind of depends what colors you're looking for here, what color schemes. So less water on these ends, and then I do want this though to kind of go together and have less stripes. So I'm going to get my brush a little wetter, kind of get some of that deeper color off, but I'm going to kind of just make it kind of bleed a little bit and run more like this. And that's going to make it look that watercolor look a little more. More water. There we go. Okay, and you know, I probably would still try to make it darker, but I just think for now this will be fine. It's not as dark as I was going for, but you can see that you build on it and you keep trying and you add and you play and you just enjoy the process is kind of what we're doing. And so I am going to get this a little bit dried off. So I'll get the, we don't have to have it perfectly dried off, but I do want to kind of get the tape off and all that. Kind of blows it around too, so you can kind of use that to kind of do some lines on it a little. Okay, good enough for now. It's not perfectly dry, but you get the idea. Some of my messy junk out of here. I'm gonna have lots of dishes to do when I'm done. Okay. Let's pull the tape off here. And it did kind of soak under there, it looks like. The watercolor paper, it doesn't usually soak under the tape. So that is a difference because this probably doesn't stick as much to it, and it did allow that to go under the edges. Whereas I bet if we pull this off, it probably didn't. Yeah, see how it doesn't sneak underneath the tape on the watercolor paper. So that is a difference, I guess, with inking on these papers. If you want that polished edge like this, you would know that it's probably going to be harder to do if you're using the glimmer paper. You can do it a lot easier getting that edge on there if you have the tape on the watercolor paper. So that's the kind of things you kind of learn through the trial and error. And so this edge is not going to show, so it's perfectly fine. I'm going to show you the other pieces to our card. So I am using here's the watercolor paper. Here's the watercolor paper I wanted to show you. Comes in a package like this. That's our fluid watercolor paper, 100% cotton. All right. So what I want to do is I'm going to use this die set and that stamp set. Although I'm not going to do a lot with the stamp set on this card. I'm going to use more of the stamp set on the card next week that I'm going to do. So the die set is called Aspen Trees Dies, and it comes with this gorgeous birch die cut. And I'm going to, normally you'd use white because to make it look like birch. In fact, I had that sheet out, right? Okay, so you can see how it cuts all of this out, and it kind of makes it look like birch trees. And then it comes with these leaves that have this embossed detail on them. I don't know if you can see that. Isn't that pretty? Oh my goodness. It's got lots of detail. Now this is kind of a group of leaves that go on the end of this branch. So that would go here. And then this is our stamped bird, and then the die cut for the bird. So that is that set. So for today though, I'm going to use just the die cut of the bird, and I'm going to use the birch die. Okay, so I cut out the birch die, but I'm going to use it in black. That's going to be my layer for our sunset card, and you can kind of get the idea there what I'm doing, right? So that is how that's going to go. I did pre-cut that out just to make it easier because I knew I'd be long-winded today. I've got too much to do because we didn't even use our pencils yet, so that's going to have to be next time. But one thing I did want to do is pull in from the watercolor shape stamp set. I am going to use this one and make kind of a setting sun in it. And so we're going to grab, let's see which color would be best. I kind of want it to be that fireball in the sky, probably like the Calypso coral color here from before. It's still messily inked up. So, well, actually I should use the pad. Let me grab that. Not this. I can't really ink a stamp from this very well, so I should know better than that. Here's the Calypso coral stamp pad. Just gonna get this circle here inked up, and then I'm gonna put that wherever we could think of kind of a setting, or the sun will be. Could do that wherever. Okay, and then it's gonna be going on like so. Woo, isn't that pretty? Oh, I love that. Real pretty color. And we're gonna put a little bit of our bird here in silhouette. Here's a different set that I had, a different one. This is just our basic cardstock, our basic white cardstock, and I was going to use it, and then I noticed it was going the wrong way. I needed it to go that way, but that's kind of where I started. Here's what it looked like with the white on it and a little bit of a sun poking through, but unfortunately the stripes are going the wrong way. See the things you do, right, that you learn. So I am going to bring in my die cut bird, and I have so many samples to show you guys, but I can't do it all in one day, right? Where's my die cut bird? That's my next thing. Okay. So if I can't find him, I'll have to make him. I'm going to die cut just the outline of the bird with that. I just have too much stuff out today. Oh, here it is. There, wasn't that fast? Voila. And I have, okay, that's good enough for now. So I just die cut the bird out, and this is just a card front. So we can go ahead and glue on our black piece here, and I'm just going to use, the Seal Plus because it's not going to want to stick very well to this, and it hopefully is dry enough so it will stick to it well. And we're just going to put that Seal Plus all around, and if you have it kind of go over the edge, I don't know if you can see with my messy hand, you can just push that back over the edge if some of those little bits of adhesive are showing. You could push them back around so that they don't show out the side. This is a real nice strong adhesive. And we're almost done here. You can put some on these center pieces here and there as well if you'd like. Just we don't want those showing through. And we're going to put this layer on this. And it's pretty much anywhere here. It doesn't really matter exactly. And then, like, I'll just trim this little part off. Get my little snips in here and trim the part sticking up. And this I would just put on a card base of any of these colors that are in the actual background probably. I could use the Calypso Coral or any of these colors in here as my card base color. And then I'm going to just pop up our little bird kind of right here. And I'm going to use dimensionals for that. Put a few dimensionals here. Excuse me. Okay, and this little guy's just kind of sitting right down in the corner. Let's see where I want him. And in person, it doesn't blend in as much, so you can easily see the little bird there. And then this would be your card front on, oh, what color would you like to use? Let me see here. So if we got it dark enough to match the Mary Merlot, then we'd be able to put it on the Mary Merlot piece. I usually just keep a bunch of card bases ready to go, and then as soon as I want to make a card, I just choose which ones I want to go along with my project. And I think maybe, gosh, this one would even go, wouldn't it? Even though it's not green. Goodness. Or black would be gorgeous. What color? I wonder if this would even work. I think we did start out with cherry cobbler on there too, didn't we? So we put this on there, put your greeting on there, and you have a beautiful sunset behind your birch trees here. And that's just the start of the card. We'll bling it up. In fact, maybe next week when we do more techniques, we will be able to, I'll have more details added to this card. And you can play with whatever you happen to have at home. Feel free to play with that until next week and just see what you can come up with. Even things like this that look like a mistake, when you're using them on a project, you'll be amazed how much that actually adds to it, and that brings in that a little bit more of an artsy look to it. And so feel free to play, and I'd love to see some of your samples. For inspiration, I can show you some of my not to-dos. You don't need to stamp directly on watercolor paper because it doesn't look good. See that? Now, I can take a brush or whatever. I think this is even like a brown ink, like our early espresso, and I can smooth that with a blender or one of my brushes, and I can get this card to look nice. But I'm just showing you this so that you know, oh yeah, if you stamp directly on the textured side of this watercolor paper, it may not look how you want it to look. And so you would have to blend that out, which you can see that I'm doing right there. You would have to continue that probably, unless for some reason you would want that kind of a look on there. But that's what happens when you're stamping over a background on the watercolor paper. And this one I should have gotten darker, but I loved the colors all over. And you know, yeah, there's a lot of imperfections, but once you trim this down, or just use part of it, it looks gorgeous. And just trying different backgrounds, different stamps. Now I used the black here. That worked out a lot better with just the line image compared to the full image. And again, I could probably get this to kind of, I can make it really nicely blended with the blender pen or my aqua painter. But I wanted you to see how it looks at first. When you first do it, you're going to think, yuck, I don't like how that turned out. But you can work with it and make it look gorgeous. This was my stripes going the wrong way. This was a card front I made. Let's see what kind of a card base. Like if this was your card front, I just purposely made the layers a little bit kitty wampus on here. But I just stamped in black ink over my little area of a rectangle that I had a kind of a Calypso coral wash on there. This is an example of one of the centers, or something like this, similar to that I cut out with our frames dies and just kind of made a different focal point out of it. I think that's it for now. That's gonna do it for us. I have a lot more, almost to the point where, you know, I just get overwhelmed because I have so many fun things for us to try. It's like, where do you begin? So I hope that this project is something that you enjoyed and you could make the colors really deep and dark. I think that would maybe even be nicer to really deepen those colors. So I'm going to probably try to play with this and make a little bit deeper colored background for it. I'd love to see what you come up with too. Thank you for tuning in. And hope you can join in on some watercoloring fun. Let me know what you've done. We will see you in another week. Still eking in under the wire in July. It'll be on the 30th. Is that what that is? So if today's the 21st, then that'd be the 30th. I should know that ahead of time. All right, take care. You guys have a great day, and thank you for tuning in. And